Hey guys, it's SomberShadow001, back at it again with the video games, back at it again with Destiny 2, and I know, I'm incredibly late to this. It's been a hectic week. I also wanted to wait until there was a lot more information to come out before I made a video about this. Obviously, this being the Witch Queen reveal and my feelings on it, and this will be part of a double upload I'll be doing. So I'm doing this video, the one that you're watching right now, which is going to be the Witch Queen reveal. I'm sorry. And the other video, which will be about my first impressions of the new, most recent Season of the Lost, and how I feel about that. So yeah, how do I feel about the Witch Queen reveal? I think it's awesome. I literally can't wait. I'm mad that we have to wait until late February to play it, which means we're going to have a 6-7 month long season. But it seems like there's something to alleviate that at least, or at least that feeling of content drought, and we'll get to that eventually. But what a great just presentation overall. Stepping up the production value and everything. I kind of wish that I hadn't looked into some of the leaks that came out. I know that was a big issue with Witch Queen. There were leaks out the wazoo everywhere. And half of them I didn't really believe. I remember seeing really my first taste of a leak in terms of Witch Queen was, of course, the concept art of Savathun. And me seeing that, no, and a lot of people were like, I don't know if this really is, Savathun, this could be fake. I was one of those people that I'm like, oh, it's fake, but if it is true, there's some pretty big implications, which is then later proven true, which I felt kind of sucked that saw that piece of concept art, and then went into some leaks that people were saying, because a lot of these leaks I felt, weren't accurate or wouldn't make sense to me. It was stuff that I didn't believe. Excuse me. I don't have COVID, I promise. That turned out to be, at least had some shades of truth in it. And that specifically, for me, of course, is Hive Ghosts, which I think was a fucking amazing reveal for Destiny. The way they revealed it in the trailer, and the fact that we're going to be fighting enemies with light-based abilities, which we've never really done before. I mean, I guess you can consider Gaul that, but I consider that like a precursor, because one, he wasn't really that difficult, and he couldn't resurrect anyway. So I don't really consider him a light-based enemy, but I am very interested in seeing that, like, the Hive have harnessed this light, have harnessed our light from the Traveler, and is now using it against us. I also like that it's a little bit different than what we do, but like the whole conceit and concept of this is they want us, at least according to the TWAB that they released, they want us to feel like we're fighting ourselves. So they're going to be just as powerful. They can resurrect unless we destroy the ghost, which I think is great. Because my thing was, I'm like, oh, if they have ghosts, can they just resurrect? How do we destroy ghosts? And then I realized we're technically a paracausal being, so we can destroy them, at least according to lore, which I think is very, very interesting. I want to know how these Hive Ghosts are made, and like I'm really interested just in the story. Um, the let's talk about the fact that Savathun somehow has taken the light and spread it to her hive, which I think is interesting. Savathun has been built up since the Book of Sorrow all the way back, or Books of Sorrow all the way back in Taken King, and even more in the very, very beginning of Destiny 2, where we actually first hear her name said aloud in the game, and not to mention the Savathun's song Strike, with the big shrieker, which is no longer around anymore. So very, very interested in seeing her character develop, especially with this new season going on. But I'm very interested to see how her character will be in Destiny 2, the Witch Queen. Is she really the true enemy? Is she going to trick us? Is she on our side? We don't know, and that's the beauty of having a trickster archetype, or as I like to call it, the Loki archetype, as like, this trickster god who's great at feeding you this interesting narrative, but you don't know if it is true or not, which I will lead more into when we do Season of the Lost in that video. But overall, the Witch Queen reveal, holy crap. Let's talk about the destination. It's not at all what we thought. We saw swamps, that's all we really saw in terms of like promotional images. People immediately went Old Chicago. I was like, yeah, Old Chicago would be cool. It's an idea that we've never seen before, or it's an area that we've heard about so much but never seen. But the more I thought about it, the less it felt plausible that it was Old Chicago, because I'm like, well, why would the Hive be on Earth? And we know the only time the Hive have really ever been on Earth was that nest in the Cosmodrome. We don't really know if there are any Hive anywhere else. And then for me, I was like, but why Chicago? Why specifically Chicago? Why would the Hive want to be there? So over time, I started to think, Old Chicago doesn't make sense. So I was like, maybe it's like some sort of swamp planet. Some people thought it was Venus. I said no, that wouldn't really make sense. The Hive wouldn't reach Venus because the Vex completely control that. Some people were saying it was the Mumbai Push. Again, same issue as Old Chicago. Why would they even be there? I love the idea that it's actually Savathun's throne world and it's an actual destination and it's not just part of a raid. The design looks incredible. I love the idea that they said of it being kind of like a multi-tiered kind of look to it, and the fact that you're in the the lowlands, the wetlands, that's your swamp, and then as you're moving up, you get into the progressively more like Hive structures. Not to mention that there's a big downed pyramid ship just in the middle of the throne world, which has me interested in why that's there. Is it still active? Also, another huge surprise that I did not expect either. No new darkness subclass. Which, actually, let me rephrase that. I'm both surprised and not surprised. I'm surprised because people have been building, because they've been, in the lore at least, building up the fact that there was going to be another darkness subclass. It was something that had to do with poison. That's what a lot of people, I believe people were calling it vapor, and almost every leak said that was a thing. And they are seriously saying, no, we're not adding a new element to the game. Which, when people were saying that, I'm like, I don't think they could do that, because it took them 6 years to put in, or actually maybe more like 7. Because, yeah, Witch Queen would be year 8, right? So I would say, because Witch Queen is going to be year 8. So yeah, year 7. So it took them 7 years. It took them 7 years to come up with a new element and a new subclass from, if you're counting the beginning of Destiny 1. So it took them a long time to even come up with something new. So I doubt they were going to come up with another new element in a year and then implement it and make sure it wasn't busted like Stasis was. But to counteract that, they said they are going to be expanding upon the light subclasses, which I think is a great idea. It's something that's been sorely needed for a very long time. And they said it's going to work like Stasis now. So you're going to get aspects, you're going to get fragments. I think that is perfect. And they said they're, with the launch of Witch Queen, they're going to specifically start with Void, which I believe is actually the weakest of the elements, so it makes sense, or at least I think it's probably the least used. If you're talking about classes across the board, maybe except for like Warlocks, I would say, but a lot of times I see a lot of Warlocks using roaming supers and not Nova Bomb. So I think that's very interesting. I love that idea. They didn't really go too much into it. I know they said they had the same similar concept to the slow freeze shatter for Stasis, and I believe that was for Void. It was it suppress? I can't remember entirely. I remember 2 of them, but I can't remember all of them. I'm so sorry. I believe it was, I believe it was suppress. Suppress, Devour, Volatile. I believe that's what it was called. Suppress, Devour, Volatile. Which I think is very interesting, and that they were going to base their aspects and fragments around that. I love to see some more aspect quests. I think that'd be great, because especially because we don't have one currently for Stasis. I'm very interested in seeing where that will go, especially when we get to the other elements in terms of Arc and Solar. I want to see what kind of stuff we're going to get, or are we going to get the ability to mimic some of these Hive Guardian abilities. That's what we call them. I believe the name in their game is Lucent Brood, which I think is great. Also, the designs of the Lucent Brood are fucking incredible. I love that they kind of look like Hive bony versions of what our armor looks like. Especially the Hive that's supposed to look like the Hunter. They actually have a hood that's actually like part of them. It's like their skull goes out and then weaves down into a hood that then weaves down into like a cape behind them that's completely made out of like chitin and bone. I think that's really, really cool. And their supers are a little bit different, so I'm very interested in seeing where that's going to go. Of course, the new weapon type that we're getting, the glaive, and what that leads into. I'm very interested. I read that in a leak as well, and I was like, a glaive, a new melee weapon is cool. What I didn't expect was it was going to be a first-person weapon. I thought it was going to be like a sword. It was going to be a third-person type weapon. But no, it's a melee weapon that's for first person. It's basically a big spear. And they said it has defensive capabilities and a mid-range attack as well. So you don't just have to get up close. You do combos up close, but you also shoot this powerful blast from it. That's like a mid-range thing that, for some reason, has a shotgun sound effect, which is very weird. And then it has defensive capabilities as well, which they said will help against fighting the light-based Hive. So I think that would be very, very interesting. And, of course, that will lead into the big-ticket idea, weapon crafting. And that we're going to get fully craftable weapons in Destiny 2, finally. And they said it's going to be a combat-based progression. A combat-based progression system. Much like how Destiny 1 was, unless you had like a ton of motes of light in terms of upgrading your weapons over time. I love the idea of building our own weapons, and from what I heard, I don't know if it's true if you could select your own perks. Probably out of a pool and you can't select, 2 perks that work too well. They're probably going to limit you on the specific types of perks you can have. I love that level of customization. They said that you can, so far, over time they'll be able to add more weapons into that pool that you can craft. But they said at least at the start of Witch Queen, you'll be able to craft all the Throne World weapons, which is the main, legendaries that are themed on the Witch Queen, as well as some of the raid weapons. I think is very, very interesting. So I believe you would have to unlock these weapons originally before you could craft them. That'd be my guess. At least with raid weapons, because I feel like it's a little bit too easy to get raid weapons. But in that respect. But I think it's very interesting. I think it's a very cool idea. I'd love to see how deep that customization goes in terms of, hopefully they don't screw it up like they did Transmog. So I'll be happy in that respect. There's not really much to go on right now in terms. Obviously there's of course, the pre-order bonus where they more or less said, hey, we got a new Hive SMG. There's no name for it. We don't know what it's called, which is an exotic. We don't have any name for it. We don't know what it is. We don't really know anything in terms of exotics that we're getting. Besides, obviously, we're going to get an exotic glaive. I would be very surprised if we don't. I was also told, or at least I believe it was in the TWAB, class-based exotics are coming back, which I find interesting because I was never really a huge fan of that, but it also like the idea of having something that's uniquely yours. I think that's kind of the point. It is it's a double-edged sword, especially when in Destiny 1 none of those weapons were really great, really, besides like Talaluk, and if the only reason Talaluk was good is if you held on to your super. But I don't know if that means class items either. If they could just be talking about exotic class items and not weapons, because I really think relegating exotic weapons to classes I don't really like. I didn't like it when they did it in Destiny 1, and I certainly won't like it if they do it in Destiny 2. If it's, class items, that's different. So, exotic cloaks, exotic exotic warlock bonds or titan marks. That's fine. I don't care about that. That's cool. I don't really have any big conniption over that. It's if it bleeds into weapons, then I'm gonna have an issue, because it just, at least for me personally, it wasn't well executed in Destiny 1 with Ace of Spades, Talaluk, and Fabian Strategy. Especially because Ace of Spades and Talaluk, I'm sorry, and Fabian Strategy weren't really that good back then. At least to me, they were kind of mid-tier. For Destiny 1, obviously, there is no Fabian Strategy in Destiny 2, but there is Ace of Spades, which is great, or was great. I don't know if it's continuing to be great anymore. But I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. Obviously, after Witch Queen, or at least a little bit before. Or no, I'm sorry. I am right. After Witch Queen, of course, we're going to have Lightfall, which they talked about, and they revealed what the next DLC after Lightfall will be. And the name made me lose it, which is the Final Shape. And if you read the lore, you're like, oh shit, this is going to be crazy. And they said this will cap off the Light and Darkness saga for Destiny. Which a lot of people are like, does that mean Destiny is ending? No. Definitively no. They said we are continuing to make new expansions for Destiny 2 after the Final Shape. It's just that story will be done. This 10-year-long story, which I think will be emotional for a lot of people when we get there. Very interested in seeing where that DLC would entail. Like, I'm already thinking about the future, and Witch Queen isn't even here yet. I already want to see what's going to be with Lightfall and the Final Shape. And these are final names now, so I'm very, very excited to see where that was going to go, because originally Lightfall was going to be the final DLC, but because Witch Queen got delayed to 2022, they decided, let's add on another DLC. So that way we really get that full culmination of everything we've ever done. And then after that, we'll see, where we go. And how we will manage in this new world after that's done. But obviously, before Witch Queen, the big hot button topic right now is the Bungie 30th anniversary event. And they showed a nice video that made a lot of people cry. It made a ton of people cry. It got a lot of people wicked emotional. Wow. First of all, I love that they're celebrating it, and that the celebration, at least the stuff for some stuff, is free. There's going to be a match-made activity, which from the symbol looked like it's got to do with the 9. So I'm very interested in seeing where that's going to go. And they said it was like a treasure trove activity where you can find weapons from different games. I think that'll be very interesting. But I think the big hot button topic is, of course, the paywall. I have such a big issue. Well, one, I have an issue that you even have to pay for a dungeon. Yes, that's right. The paid for version of the Bungie 30th anniversary pack, you have to pay for it to even play the dungeon that will be set in the loot cave, which I think is really awesome. It was in the Cosmodrome, so I immediately thought, oh boy, I'm like, this will be interesting. It's set in the loot cave, which I think is cute. The issue I have with that is you're locking content that people love and have been waiting for in terms of dungeons behind a paywall. Not only that, you're locking an exotic behind a paywall because the dungeon will lead into getting an exotic. And then exotic is Gallarhorn. Yep, that's right. We're getting Gallarhorn in Destiny 2. I'm really happy, but I'm also like, God damn it, you said you weren't going to do it, and now you went back, and you are doing it. Like, why? But I am kind of upset that you have to pay $30, by the way, which I think is ridiculously high, to play, to get a dungeon, some extra gear, a thorn-based armor set, and Gallarhorn. I think that is incredibly dumb. I think you should just made it free for everybody, including the dungeon. You should not have to pay $30 for playing a content that's not an expansion. Especially 30, even if they did do the paywall, they should have just lowered it down. $30 is ridiculous. You should have maybe made it like 15 or 10. Like, make it the price of a season. Like for the season pass. That would, I think more people would end up doing it. That's ridiculous. Paying 30, I mean, I'm probably going to do it anyway, because I want that Gallarhorn and I want to play that dungeon, but $30? Just to partake in something that everyone's going to partake in anyway? It's just extra stuff on the side? I think that's ridiculous. I think that's a really dumb decision to really make it that high of a price, or to even pay for it at all, because it's content that everyone deserves. That's really the only negative thing I have to say about that. I'm very excited to see where it is. I get, no Halo stuff. Obviously, they can't. They don't really have the rights to Halo anymore. So they couldn't obviously add any Halo-based stuff. I know that was a rumor that we were going to get, like, the Halo Combat Evolved Magnum. Nope, not happening. At least from what they show, there's no Halo stuff. When they announced the dungeon, I was thinking, oh, maybe there's going to be a Halo reference, because it's in the Cosmodrome. If you remember playing the Kate Stash mission and finding that secret scannable in there, I guess not really secret, there's a Guardian, sealed up in there. It's a reference to Master Chief from Halo. I thought it was going to be something revolving around that, and that's where we get a Halo weapon, but they said, no, it's going to be the Gallarhorn, and it's in the loot cave. So I'm interested. I'm very interested in seeing what that dungeon will be like. I think it's cool. Honestly, I'm very excited for what the future has for Destiny, and I think it'll be a great thing. I know this video is incredibly long, but I wanted to get through as much. Oh, you know what? I didn't even talk about the raid. I just realized I didn't even talk about the raid. The raid for Witch Queen will be taking place in the pyramid ship in the Witch Queen's throne world, in Savathun's throne world, which I think is awesome. Are we going to see new enemies? I believe they said it's a Scorn raid, which I believe is the first time we've ever had a Scorn raid. So I'm wondering if it's going to build off of what Presage gave us in Season of the Chosen with, people are communing with the darkness, and the Scorn are involved, especially now because the Scorn are using stasis, which I thought was such a great idea of not announcing anything or saying anything, and just being like, oh yeah, you're going to do a Scorn strike. Oh, they have stasis now. Or at least the some of them do. I think that's a really cool idea of just not even saying anything or mentioning anything about that. What a great idea. I love that. But anyway, that's all I have for Witch Queen. I'm very excited for what the future is going to hold and what we're going to see, especially with the raid, the weapon crafting, the new weapons, fighting light-based enemies. I think it will be very interesting and very cool to see. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Witch Queen reveal. What did you guys think? And I know, again, I'm very, very late. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and apagando las luces.